welcome once more to our lovely play session. I'm Nobody, your storyteller, your narrator, your number one fan. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, In the Shadow of the White City, Season 8, Episode 6, the penultimate episode, The Fire of the Sinful Soul. We're just waiting for the arrival of our other players, and we hope that you'll appreciate and enjoy all of our efforts, our time, our energies, and the world in which these characters exist. Thank you. When we last left the coterie, there were several things that had come to light. There was the pressing engagement that there were, in fact, lupines on the hunt. There was the pressing engagement that the local circulatory system-esque blood trade was in the midst of bringing a new associated member into the fold, using the party circuit to add to their coffers, and using the close fraternal relation of a former local as the gateway drug to allow access. There was, in a separate though very closely connected limb of this particular tree of hell, the fact that Muzan discovered the location through the efforts of Lewis of where the Nosferatu had been interred. And right across the border, in the no man's land between where Dalton is and Gary would like to resurrect itself from the dead, the Tremere of the area, involved in a ritual to replicate what Calabalarshi had done nearly a year ago, 6 months or so to be exact. And as we closed our gaze on where the coterie was, Zyna was coming to grips with there's a lupine pack on the hunt and willing to trail, stalk, and hunt kindred of the most martial aptitudes. Dia was realizing that their peace, having sold a portion of their freedom to indulge and engage in the fullness of civil liberty under Prince Albu, was in jeopardy. And the old axiom of if you're not the lead dog, the view never changes, was raining on her parade. All the balls being juggled, all the plates being spun, and it has literally come down to either shit or get off the pot. So we open moments, fractions of seconds after the close of our last episode, after living in a hole in the ground came to a sputtering, stumbling close. Those truths sitting there on everyone's mind, those decisions needing to be made, and those actions needing to be taken. Having left the boys to discuss things amongst themselves, stepping away to the office for a moment to gather herself. With Muzan out of the building, that leaves but one resource as a sounding board, as a confidant of sorts to work things out, to lay out the plan and what the next steps should be, could be, and might be. So having collected Zyna from her donors and from being clean within an inch of their own life, we open with Dia at the desk, Zyna leaning, smoking against the doorway. After all, this is a non-smoking building officially, but such things, such civil codes of law don't really apply in the land of the dead.
Looking to Zyna, the kind of wipes at a bit of fluff on her eyelash, and look, I know we're just getting to know each other, and I have appreciated very much your straightforwardness and candor. I want to take care of the things that need most taken care of first. I do not like the fact that you will hunt the sea. I would like to know what you feel we should do about that thing. Seeing as how there is only the few of us, and they took many of you, I think we need backup. The only backup I know has any sort of numbers is the prince. And I hate to owe him anything else, but maybe that would be our best option. But I still want to know what it is you think. So, please, speak freely.
Is danger to domain. It's not, should not incur debt.
It's true, our domain is already on thin ice, as it were, and we are only left alone having pledged our loyalty to the prince, as it were. Oh, taking one set of hands from around my neck, I put a foot there.
It's just to deal with Lupine. Is dead, domain do not matter.
That is very true. They are wholly a danger to every kindred, no matter clan or creed, anarch, it doesn't matter. They will kill what they can. To do that, we need to either make them cow or be rid of them entirely. I don't have an overabundance of silver laying around, mind you.
It's
So
probably
how would you
best.
handle them if you were me?
It's probably best go to Prince.
Yes. This doesn't seem like the sort of thing you would say to one over the phone.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I'd just ring you up and let you know there are wolves running loose. But I don't know if I'm in the mood for the sort of mental games that man plays at the moment. I think I need the day's rest to be prepared for the sense of mental games that man plays.
She will poke at one of the gaping wounds that she has. So yes,
And you go,
rest would be good.
of course. Yes, I would very much like for everybody to be at their most 100%. So taking the night for you to heal and me to prepare myself for mental battle seems like a good plan, but we will definitely tomorrow pay a visit to the prince and not ask for help, but be upstanding members of his kingdom, as it were, and let him know that there is a danger to all of his subjects, not just us. Maybe if we spin it back.
It's true. We'll not stop here.
Exactly. Once we get that point across, then maybe, just maybe, we can not wash our hands of it, because he will surely expect us to be participating, but at least put the bulk of the work onto him. Yes, that is a solid plan. Okay, I am feeling a bit more better about this whole thing that just happened, and then we can deal with the other things, like doming and your brother blood trade, which is important, but the lupines indeed are first.
Is have safe room?
In what way, say?
Is safe for data. Is normal will take care of self, but she pokes at the wound again.
Indeed. The catacombs in the basement are all blocked from sun entirely, as they are underground, so you may have your pick of the ones that are empty. I usually sleep in my own suite, but yes, any of the rooms downstairs that are open, you may have.
She nods.
Well, as it is near sunrise and I can feel it creeping up on me, and I have some things I would like to do before I drop dead for the morning, I will bid you good evening, or good morning, whichever you prefer.
She will grunt and nod.
Dia watches her leave and takes a small moment to, oddly enough, go into a locked drawer at the bottom of her desk, taking out a picture. And the one picture is of her Geneva and her side at a 20s style club when they first started making photos available, and it's an old style black and white photo. And they're dressed very much of the age, and there's smiles all around, and she just kind of stares at the picture for a minute and touches both other faces. How far we've come, only to be a bird in a cage. But there's nothing for it except to keep going forward, and she puts the picture back in the drawer and locks it, standing up and heading to her suite in the evening, washing her face, laying out her clothing for the next day, and getting into the bed to pretend to be human and sleep.
There's a lot to be had in rituals. There's value that really can't be reaped or accounted for. little small things like always double checking one's car upon exiting by clicking the locks twice, 3 times, or those annoying people who click it 4 and 5 to make sure that it is in fact locked. The rituals of before entering a store, wiping one's hands with a bleach wipe and wiping the rail of the car with a bear with me one quick second. Sorry, there is something happening in the background. Sorry about that, folks. One of the many upsides and downsides to having teenagers is a randomized level of noise at various moments. So, rituals, they matter. They have a value that we can't exactly put a full thumb on, but we reap the benefits of through our adherence to our personal rituals. Not to the level of obsession, but they help us, they grant us the air and illusion of comfort. They can also be damning, as frequency and regularity is the number one way that criminals, those who engage in extra-legal activities, are often caught, are often brought to the full scales of justice. So as Dia settles with rituals, the showering and cleansing of the body, the application of various nocturnal masks and cleansers for their hands and face, the sitting before the dressing room mirror and preparing herself for bed. Those many rituals that have come across from their days of living into all of their many nights of almost immortality. And flipping the coin, as it were, looking at the other side, we find Zyna looking for an open, secure suite or a room. In the many options available, in the many pleasure dome-esque areas of the actual Pisketeers, what is she looking for? What stands out to her as a secure place to die for the day?
Really, she's judging it by the strength of the locks. She doesn't need anything extravagant. She doesn't even need a bed.
What stands out to her in regards to secure? There's hundreds of different catch locks and deadbolts, and the locks that, well, aren't really locks per se. They're just catches from the inside of the door. There are those rooms that are designed to deprive one of their full use of senses. They're soundproof. Some of them are light proof. Some of them are the combination of the two. Many of them outfitted with all manner of accoutrement towards achieving several layers and levels of pleasure and pain, and the many permutations between the two. Some of the rooms that she enters are already occupied. Couples, thruples, quadruplets, and various other numerical arrangements of bodies engaging in what bodies engage in. When touring the space, taking it all in and finding a space for herself, while she doesn't need much luxury, not need much in the way of anything except for a strong lock, what stands out to her as such?
Something she can secure pretty well from the inside. She's, on the road, had been on the road a lot, so she's stayed in a lot of sketchy motels and whatnot. So she's got some ideas how to secure herself, but the easier it is, the better it is.
In any other modern field, what she's effectively doing is operational security. She's already a ghost. There's no record of her in Dalton, let alone at or near the Pisketeers. Yes, she survived the ride here, but those hounding her tracks, if they really wanted her by scent, sight, or anything else, they would have already been here. The night makes no difference to them. The time invested clearly is something that they are capable of. The lupines out there in the dark don't have the same wherewithal in terms of what they will or they won't do to achieve their goals. They are, without a shadow of a doubt, single-minded and focused. So what she's protecting against in this moment is accidental discovery, someone kicking the door in because they think that she's someone else. So finding a room, which is strange in and of itself because it is in fact quite a small room. It's unlike the other suites. It's not connected to another room through internal or interior doors. It isn't wide, large, high vaulted ceilings or anything even remotely luxurious. Strangely enough, the room that she finds could best be described as monastic. The room that she finds is best described as a cell, though an interesting one, as while most all cells have the ability to be locked from the outside, this one seems to lack any of that ability. There aren't any latches built into the wall, and while the door is thick, rusted, and old iron, it's clean. There's nothing flaking off, there's nothing jagged, there's nothing that could harm one when approaching or utilizing the door, which was curious in and of itself in a place such as this where pleasure is the word of the day. Checking into the cell, there is a small hanging light that lightly swings on a breeze of its own because there is airflow. The cot raised 4 inches from the actual stone floor. The floor, unlike most others, isn't tiled over, isn't carpeted over. It is stone carved flatness, and not the carve that you would expect. It's not someone taking several work days and years chiseling away and smoothing out and sanding down the stone. This seems to have been carved out literally by someone walking backwards and forwards over the stone space, as if it was carved out of stone through the flow of water and then by the usage and overusage of someone rising, pacing, kneeling. So it's not quite completely level. There is a latch inside the door that slams into place that can only be opened from inside. The double checking of the outside of the door, yes, there's no way to lock this door from the outside. There's no actual latch. You have to slip your fingers into the small space between the rock and the iron door and pull it out, which means once that latch is slammed into place, there's no way to open the door from the outside. There's exposed steel cables running through the rock itself of the walls of this cell that feed the electricity into the space. In any other time, this would have been the cell of some prophet, some old man or old woman sitting on top of a mountain that people would come from miles around to importune their time. In another time, this is what one of the many notable criminals would have used to hide away from the law, because after all, who would expect them there? There's no finery, there's no richness to it. It is simply a space to be alone with one's self.
Sounds perfect.
Moving into the cell and closing it behind you. What are Zyna's evening oblations? What are her rituals for all of the time that she's been on the road? Or she's outrun, outlasted, outfought everything in her shadow.
Pretty much just safety. She probably smokes a cigarette, but other than that, she just tosses her bag in the corner and lays down on the cot and waits to die.
There's a well-known aphorism in regards to death and taxes. In moments such as this, that aphorism becomes a truism, because even granted the promise of potential immortality, death still comes for the kindred. And unlike sleeping, unlike even being knocked out, unlike every other ending of a conscious period for the living, the dead don't sleep. The dead don't dream. The dead just die once more. Time for them during the daylight hours of the world doesn't exist. There's no unraveling all of the hundreds of thousands of mysteries of one's conscious and unconscious mind. There isn't any heralding of wishes and wants and fantasies. There's no cryptic, well, your boss was yelling at you today, so of course your dreams are going to be a little fraught. There's nothing. There's an overwhelming abundance of nothing. Like a switch being thrown, the kindred simply cease to be until that switch is thrown again, with no recollection or understanding of anything save they are once more in the world. They're back. Snapping back to resurrected life. What are the first things that the kindred gathered get up to?
Well, I have to make a bunch of rouse checks. Other than that, she will sit up and reach for a cigarette.
Dear definitely gets up, looks in her mirror, and brushes her hair 100 strokes with her antique brush and comb set, and folds her hair up into its usual kind of high ponytail situation, and dresses for style, but also this time, in case they have to run or get physical, there is a bit of that taken into consideration. Black kind of gi cut pants, a fancy sports bra, and a little jacket moment to go over top of it in shades of black and blue, and a pair of comfortable boots with actual leather soles, and very light makeup, playing up the eyes, and minimal jewelry. And putting on her bravest face and heading to look for the others.
It's funny how things are cyclical. How the more things change, the more pressures of now make today different than yesterday, and how very much they're exactly where they last were. Just as little as 3 months ago, in the care and consideration of the other members of her cabinet, the members that she fought for, the members that she fought to have agency over their nights, an agency within hers. And here she is once more in the shadow of Nicole at the Pisketeers, alone. Of course, there's the tropey expected toreador inclinations to build a sonnet, to create a work of art, to memorialize this feeling, this realization. But in the moment, there's very much the hint and air that the more things change, the more things are allowed to change. The more one simply bobs along the surface of life and unlife, the less things one actually controls. Because for all of the misadventures, all of the wild ebbs and flows of circumstance, all of the faces that have fallen away, she is once more back here, once more back in this moment, once more here, alone, searching for others that may or may not rise to the occurrence, rise to the occasion, be something more than what they were yesterday. Because in the end, while the situations has changed, while her position has changed, there's a very glaring question. Did it change because of her own actions or because of others? The first few suites that she passes are filled with stragglers. The last few who haven't had the opportunity to shit, shower, shave, and get going with their day. Those who are too hungover or too done in by an excess in partying to get on with their day, to get on with their night. They are 100% shirking their responsibilities. And yet, because of the skill and talents of the new matron and the, skill and talent of the talent and being hospitable, they're allowed to luxuriate and slowly come to themselves. After all, they've paid enough and they've given enough that a few extra hours of being able to be a layabout isn't held against them. After all, the parties here at the Pisketeers can take a lot out of everyone, take a lot out of anyone. And as you move into the honeycomb, the maze, the Byzantine structures of carved out tunnels and passageways, the scent of a Turkish tobacco begins wafting towards you, begin to roll and roil in a very harsh cut, non-American long grain tobacco. It's distinctive, and it's also very telling. Do you head there, or do you give yourself time to reminisce, to envision, to otherwise busy yourself, to not fall prey to those doubts creeping around the edges?
No, she knows that it would be best just to rip the band-aid off and get this done, and she wants to check on Zyna and see if they've had a chance to kind of heal themselves and get prepared for what's about to happen. She herself having the beast a little more present than she'd like this evening, but maybe it'll give her an edge.
A edge. It's funny you should mention that. Anything that might help any port in the storm, any step forward out of the malaise, any and every bit of help is valued. It is a much needed respite. Speaking of much needed respite, with the beast crawling and clawing itself forward into the present, with the cigarette of today, of now, being the only respite. What is in fact going through Zyna's mind? What is in fact on Zyna's heart and soul in this moment? What normally quietly held unspoken truth and introspection is happening with Zyna?
She probably puffs on her cigarette and weighs her options, whether she should get on her bike and head off to the next locale, or she should stay and deal with this. She doesn't even know what she's getting paid, so she's just kind of going through pros and cons in her head.
Even with Bob no longer being in existence, Bob has a child somewhere out there, and if they would be anywhere, the best way to find that connection to a former almost packmate, the connection with a kindred soul who understands the need for survival above all else, it would be here. The other upside, which is very loose in that definition of upside. This is the wild fucking West. There is a new prince who can't know the rigors of the job enough to be an iron-fisted jackass just yet. If the most local of packs, gangrel, gathered coteries believes they have the wherewithal to take him on, that means that the prince has not put down in stone and carved out the inhumanity of kindred to kindred. That means that they can be worked with. That means that they can be worked and molded like clay before it's set. Because once a prince is set in their way, just like good chess players, they're going to use the same maneuvers over and over again ad nauseum. They're going to rely on the same recourses for dealing with free-thinking business persons. But if you get in on the ground floor, the world is your oyster. The sky is the limit. The downside. There's a pack of lupine, clearly not from the area, beginning to set up shop. That's the worst case. Best case, there's a pack of lupines from outside of the area moving through the area. And if you run, it will be just that. You won't be rushing towards anything. You will be fleeing a situation that you find untenable. And as much as Zyna considers themselves a survivor, as much as Zyna considers themselves outlasting everything, there's something a little odious about having to look oneself in the mirror, about having one's beast know that you chose the better part of valor, discretion over conquering, overcoming, and truly outlasting troubles when you could be sitting down and setting up the empire that you know you need to continue at any sort of level of progression.
She will sigh and crush the cigarette out on the floor, run her fingers through her hair with the other hand, then push herself up and grab her stuff.
Many of the knowing locals who have just the right level of celebrity to become regulars or frequenters of the Pisketeers call the maze of tunnels the honeycomb. Now, there's various small signs and symbols at various juncture points to let you know which tunnel you're in and which path you need to follow. It's part of the initiation phase, part of the introductory phase to the Pisketeers for the local celebrities and the national celebrities who swing through, is knowing what tunnel, what access they can use. It's not something that one learns in one visit. Sometimes it's not something that one learns in 10 visits. You can have visited the Pisketeers 100 times over and still only know one hidden access way in and out. Or you can be an excessively friendly, well-connected member, and on your 100th time, you've mapped out just about every easy combination of hidden egresses, entrances, and exits to the Pisketeers. All the same, as Dia rounds the corner, moving from Osiris into Thetis up to Zeus, just before she connects with Oshun to check the suites in that general direction, the new matron is there. Her cut-off shorts still in place, though she's at least wearing socks and gym shoes. Her top isn't a halter variety, which hints at the ampleness of her bosom. It is in fact a full mock turtleneck, a sleeveless variety. Her hair, of course, pulled back, not as severe and very loose and bouncy, but it is in fact pulled back. And her smile, even in the dark, reminds you of Mississippi's red mud, even though you know she's from Louisiana. Why, hey there, Miss White, how y'all doing?
Dia feels the corner of her eye twitch just a little bit, looking at the girl's outfit, but pick your battles, right? So, good. Miles, it's just starting, so I am hopeful.
Well, that's always a good thing. There's a jewelry party I was supposed to get you the invite for. They messengers had it brought over, all dressed in their livery finery. Had on this long get out of here velvet style coat, like 8 buttons across the chest. They cut a real handsome image. I just thought that was a little bit much considering I was looking for you. Thought you might have been down here in one of these suites, because for some strange reason your door was locked. And she hands you the invitation.
What color was the livery, by the way?
Color? Oh, big bright as day. Get the hell out of here. Red. Sort of thing that stand out in a crowd of 1 million or so people. Had one of them fancy driver's cap, you know, the ones with the plastic light brim that's really leather, and a matching cap with the jacket, and big huge driving gloves, the sort that look like you could punch through a window.
Well, thank you for this, and I will open it and see who it's from. I was just gathering my associate, Zyna, and then we would head back to the main pod.
Zyna? I had one of the girls keep a watch on her. She seemed to might test it with the donors you had her associate with. Thought that she might need a little extra care, if you know what I mean. She went off down Set's way over there. You know, if you follow, I didn't realize that if you follow Ashun past Thetis across Ra back through Hephaestus, that you'll end up with Shango over there, which connects with Set. Did you know that was the path that this one took?
Strange, but I suppose if you've never been here, just wandering take you that way. As we know the place, we are fairly efficient and go where we are trying to get to quickly, so wandering would be a little different. I assume.
Oh no, I understand. I try not to wander, but, and forgive me for saying, but is there any way that we might create a map? A lot of the girls claim that they can't get to the positions when they need it because they enter in through one of the wrong doors. And I'd like to hold them accountable.
The thing is, I get that, and I would like where that's going. The thing is, for centuries now, the ownership comes with a mental map of the mains, as it was, and we walk and learn it. Creating a map, such as it were, could fall into the wrong hands. Choice money. That
I suppose I understand. I get what you're getting at, but wouldn't that fall under the duties of your friend, the gray fella, the big teeth, the one always wearing the mask?
Muson, yes.
I thought he was your security chief.
He is, but he cannot be everywhere at once. That's the problem.
Oh no,
Again,
I understand.
I'm not saying no. I am going to think on it deeply, because it very much is important that the girls be held accountable, as it were, and I could maybe come to a compromise of the more important places being left off the map and the ones that we would use for business being put clearly on the map. Does that work?
Of course. Everything moving toward the better is always a beautiful thing.
Again, thank you again for this invitation, and I'm going to open it and check on Sheena. But yes, I will get back to you with the map thing, and she doesn't quite know how to cut this off. It's like that Midwestern goodbye thing. So she's just kind of okay, and then turns and walks away.
Speaking of turning and walking away, all of the tunnels look the same. It's taken no small amount of memorization to backtrack to where you are. It's a great security aspect, but it is one of those frustratingly tedious aspects as well. You're sure you passed this corner before, and looking at the symbol on the wall, it's the same one that you passed 6 minutes ago on the other side. It's on the opposite corner of the wall, which means, into your way of thinking, that means you may have somehow walked in a circle, which doesn't make sense. You've been walking fairly straight, and this was easy enough to get to, because as you exited off of that major intersection back there with the three tunnels, or the three paths crossed, you took the straight forward one, then you backtracked and took the one to the left of where you started, which means this should lead back to that junction, and yet here you are rounding a curve to find yourself, in your estimation, back on the same path you began on. Zyna, what does that stir? The beast is already closer to the surface than it should be. The wounds and injuries suffered the night before, as annoying as ever.
She will growl to herself. After everything she's been through the last couple days, she's not going to get lost down here.
And then you hear the soft clack of hardened leather on stone. It's completely different in its sound from high heels or combat boots. Hardened leather soles, not to make light of the situation, but on stone sounds like someone clapping off beat, because even the most perfectly aligned human specimen, one leg is shorter than the other. And while we don't typically notice it, listening to how someone walks or the sound from someone moving, if you hear it often enough, you can catch that small difference in timing, because it should be as simple as 1/1000, 2/2000 step, 2/2000, 1/1000 step, but because of that distance and height, that timing will shift ever so smallly.
She will adjust the pistol from the back of her jeans to the front of her jeans, and she will head towards that noise.
How dare she? Yeah, the invitation is in fact for a jewelry party. It's not just any jewelry party. It is Silk unveiling her operations, which were formerly Tyven's here in Dalton. It is Silk officially throwing down the gauntlet to any other member of the clan to either usurp her place, because she is presuming that she is the most powerful, high-ranking member of the clan. And the part that sucks, the part that you wouldn't tell anyone, a good portion of you, a good portion of what's on your mind is fine. Let her have it. You don't want the effort. You don't want the hassle. You don't want the responsibility. And yet, if you do, it will literally be you giving away the position that your sire, your lover, and your cabinet have worked very hard to help you maintain.
herself, even though that's not typically a noise she makes, but she's learning from those she's around. Fucking cheeky bitch. How dare she? No. Show her that I will not roll over and show my belly. Lupines first, then that bitch. What to be taken care of. She's talking to herself as she still walks towards Zyna.
And speak of the devil, and they shall appear. Rising up out of the darkness right in front of you is Zyna. Dressed, the wound still there, but less grievously obvious. The spirit of aggression everywhere about her. There's a bristling readiness to do all manner of harm to something or someone wafting off of her.
A little bit of a startle to the kind of her own beast, kind of sitting up and taking notice. Like, how dare they threaten me in my own home? But she knows she would not win that fight. So, I suppose you slept well, or I assume you slept well. Wound healing.
What was that?
She said, I assume you slept well. It looks like your wounds are healing.
It was okay. It's a bad wound, we'll need more time, but couple days.
Oh, well, if there's anything I can do to speed it along, just let me know. It seems you found yourself a room that perhaps you particularly like, according to the mistress of the bar, and if you would like and you plan on staying for any amount of time, you may keep your room, as it's one that we don't often use.
It's simple room, not full of fornicators.
Business is business, though, and I run a very specific sort of business. So, yes, rooms tend to be full of fornicators.
You know some traffickers if you need more inventory.
Yes, and our girls are being lured away, which I also have to stop. But for now, we are going to focus on the lupines as they are the most pressing matter, and then I have a more social battle to handle. But yes, first lupines, let's focus.
Let's go to Prince then.
Yes, and and I wish the others were with me, but I haven't seen Muzon this evening. I think Domain left and went up on their way.
Is need appointment?
Not particularly, but usually we have to bring a gift of some sort. I will look for something appropriate, and then we can be on our way. So she turns to lead Zyna back out of the honeycomb, listening to make sure she's following, but not really checking back. And then once they're out of the honeycomb, she goes to look for an appropriate gift for the prince.
There lies the very real dilemma. What do you get for a man who makes everything? He, his adjutants, his staff, seemingly all have the gift of manipulating, well, kindred, both body and mind. Look at what happened, or had begun to happen to Frost. Even with every warning in the world, taking your words to heart, they fell under the sway of, well, their beast in the hands of the doctor. So what do you get for a kindred who has the air of mastery about them and seems to collect gangrel as one would Pokemon cards?
Well, I have 3 dots in etiquette. Would that help?
Yes, it's all about submission. And it's all about the true power of social public intimacy. It's not about breaking anything, not really. Yes, most of the gangrel that you've seen him pull into his sphere are broken, but more as a sign of mastery. It's not a breaking because you don't want them salvageable or useful. It's a breaking that has a very old connotation, like you would break a buck, you would break a bronco, you would let them tire themselves out against an unmovable fact, and then you would reward them for their efforts, yet allow them to punish themselves for their failure. And you'd slowly bring them into your sway. And it's all about acts of submission, recognizing who and what is actually the master. Trading in your freedoms for civil liberties.
If I remember correctly, Dia had a couple pieces of high-end, unique jewelry made not long ago.
They did, from Tywin.
And seeing as how they aren't on the best of speaking terms here in Silk at the moment. She probably less want to keep looking at these pieces. So she's going to pick out a piece that kind of looks like a collar, but can be worn inconspicuously. And consider that one. And then the other thing she would probably consider is some sort of actually a little bit of the bottle. Like, how many bottles did Zach make? Was the one, Clyde?
There's enough. There is enough to share.
She's gonna take a bottle of Zach. And because she knows the prince very much likes unique vintages, and to be somebody that only, has something that nobody else has, kind of thing. She's going to take both and then see how she feels when she gets there as to which to give him. But she's probably more than likely going to give him the bottle, seeing as how that's the one that she, like I said, knowing that he likes to drink. So yeah, that's what she's gonna take.
There's something eerie, because while Zyna is very capable and confident, and is okay with death happening to the living and to the dead, most of the deaths that she's provided have been relatively clean. It's just business. She rarely personally invests in those that she's ended. Yet looking at the storeroom, the hidden, locked away storeroom with the vintages made of kindred that she's actually didn't immediately hate, there's something eerie about that, because those bottles are all that remain of something that was supposed to be immortal. Those bottles aren't even providing the strength that comes from drinking down another kindred. Those bottles are a lasting, garish reminder that everything and everyone is something else's meal.
It's the own gift.
Yes, he prefers drink over everything else. And this was one of the more special vintages that I had. So I felt like this would be a good gift.
Does not know why you like cold so much.
she just kind of blinks at that one, feeling like it went over her head a little bit, but it seems perfectly reasonable to her, obviously. Okay. Well, we should be going. Yes. I know you don't like cars particularly. You prefer your motorcycle, but do you wish to ride with me in the car?
It's fine. We'll ride with you.
So to the parking lot they head, and she makes sure to let the matron know that she is stepping out for the moment and that she has the calm, as they would say in Star Trek, with her bottle under her arm and the box in her hand, and slides behind the driver's seat, or slides into the driver's seat.
Dia doesn't normally drive. Most times, it is a few and far between. But the distance from the Biscuiteers to Prince Albu's personal domain isn't all that far. There's a certain arrogance that Prince Albu, Voivod of the South, has always had. No other kindred actually lives in a castle. Yes, it's a funeral home and has various viewing salons and studios, and it even has a banquet area for the families if you handle your viewing and your service there. Yet, and still, living in an actual castle, existing in a central location where everyone knows where your haven is, typically is the sign of a kindred that is not long for the world. And too many people, too many kindred know where your haven is. It is a point of attack. It is a chink in your armor. It is a place where you can be pinned down and sat upon, and you can't, no matter your strength nor your skill, fight everyone. So most kindred go out of their way to make sure that there's a secure location and an easy way to get in and out if necessary, if anyone finds out their haven. Yet the prince, the Voivod of the South, exists living in a castle, existing in immortality in a centrally located castle. It is the height of vanity. It is a daring for anyone to bring it. It is literally a challenge for anyone who's willing to take their shot. And adding insult to that wound is the fact that several people have tried, and no one thus far has been successful. Some more concerted than others, some more thought out, some more passionately focused, and yet Prince Albu, the Voivod of the South, still remains. So as you guys are, as you all are shown in and escorted to one of the smaller salons and offices, there is the very real feeling that you've put your head into the open gator's mouth. that you've lain down smelling of lamb parfum with a lion. There is a very real claustrophobia that preys on your senses of survival. There's one door in and out of this office. There aren't any windows, and with it being an actual castle, while that looks like wood grain, and it probably is, you are sure that behind that wall is not empty space. You're sure that behind those walls are not 4x4s or 2x4s or 2x8s holding the wood paneling in the wall. You're pretty sure that behind that wall is in fact something stone, rigid and dense and thick enough to withstand an assault. And there's one door in and one door out.
We'll get Zyna's hackles up a little bit. She doesn't like this situation where they're trapped in this room.
He is also not a fan, but she will try to hold herself together and seem calm.
The room has a warm, fairly thick central carpet. Beneath the carpet you can see that the floor is a series of marble tiles. The carpet is a greenish blue, and at the edge of the carpet with their backs facing you are 4 chairs in a semicircle sitting before a central desk. On the opposite side of the desk is a huge wing-backed office chair, and behind that is a series of buffets lined to make a shelf of sorts, and on those shelves are small little bric-a-brac orbs, Fabergé eggs, small busts, and bric-a-brac that clearly costed someone significant value in obtaining them. There's orbs and meteorites and various other things that are relatively rare, things that had to be found or dug up with great effort, adding to their value and their cost. The door behind you is a solid all wood thing. It's not really quite what you would expect from a door. It opens from the wrong side. It didn't really stand out, and as you all approach it were escorted in, but the door opens from the wrong side. The way that the door is hung should mean that the door swings in. Should mean that the door swings in and opens back to the right. The door swings out. Even hung the way that it is, the door swings out. There's a little small nothing. There's a bit of absolutely nothing. It shouldn't matter one way or the other, but it's the only door in and out of this room. So it plays at the corners and edges of your mind. The door's hung wrong. Based on how that door is attached to the frame, it should swing in. Yet it doesn't.
Staring at the door, and then looks at Zyna, and stares back at the door. I don't know how much you know about physics, or as it were, but Would that make the door easier to keep someone in or keep someone out?
Just think they keep us in.
Do you all take any of the seats available, or do you stand at attention and wait? Seating would place your backs firmly facing the door.
Yeah, the door thing is bothering her, so she's not going to sit and give her back to the door just yet. She's facing the door and looking, keeping an eye on the door and Zyna, kind of, so that in case something happens, they can both get the fuck out, basically.
Are they currently facing the door, or they're facing away from the door?
Well, you guys have just been escorted in, so looking around the room and the office space, you're there in that not quite fully into the room space behind the chairs, with the desk on the other side of the chairs from where you're standing, and the office chair on the other side of that, and behind that, going further into the room, at the last point, the furthest point from where you're standing, is the series of buffets lined with all the bric-a-brac and memorabilia from places long gone.
She will go sit backwards on one of the chairs so she can watch the door.
Almost as if you all are being watched. The moment that Dia settles into standing facing the door and Dia settles into the seat, there's a knock upon it. The door swings open, and it is not Prince Albu. It's not the Voivod of the South. It is his adjutant. He enters in his gold and brown earth tone livery, the boots which ride just beneath the knee, and he stops in the doorway, clicking both heels together and giving a small bow. With many great apologies, the prince is a bit busy this evening. I will be assisting you. It is always a pleasure to see upstanding members of the community. Sit. Shall we begin? And he moves around the chairs and takes a seat in the wing back, leaning forward, resting on his elbows, watching you both.
Zyna will stand up and flip the chair the other way so she can continue to sit on it backwards.
Dia carefully perches herself on a chair facing the right position and keeping Zyna very much to her right side, facing the adjutant, but keeping ear for the door.
It is, as I say, it's always a pleasure to speak with citizens, members of the court. Though I understand we've received word that there may be a changing in the permission of the Toreador for the township. Is this true?
Incorrect. I have no intentions on giving my seat over to anybody new. They think they can just walk in here and take what is mine, but I had plans to make sure that that's incorrect.
This is very good. We like gladiatorial sports, even if they are just gladiatorial of the tongue. How might I assist you in the name of the prince?
Is have wolf problem.
Yes, we do. We do apologize if you were victimized by her. Sometimes in the execution of her duties, she can be thorough. How many bruises did she deliver to you? We will make a small recompense. Typically, cash is what is used in these moments. Though, if you are pursuing any harm visited upon you by her, then we can negotiate a small trivial favor.
No, you aren't getting the point. This isn't about her. This is about actual wolves of a bipedal and sometimes quadrupedal sort hunting in this area. They are attacking kindred.
Impossible.
Yes.
Impossible. Negotiations have been made so that they remain solely in Orland Park.
What park?
Orland Park.
Zyna, where were you when you were attacked?
I don't know. Where was Zyna when she was attacked?
Not very far, actually. She was just technically over the border, right at the edge of where Riverdale and Dalton abut. Nice private park. It's open, good places to be relatively alone. In other words, miles, cities away from Orland Park. Orland Park is roughly 4 suburbs, 4 cities, 4 villages away from where you all were. You'd have to pass through Dixmoor and Posen and Midlothian, cross Oak Forest. Depending on how far south you were going, you'd have to cross, through Markham and Tinley Park to get into Orland Park. You were miles away from Orland Park.
Yes, miles from Orland Park. Was in insert township here.
You're on the edge of Riverdale, right across the border of Dalton.
Was in the Riverdale.
This is not necessarily good. Would you happen to have... Did they extol the name of their pack, perhaps their leader, maybe a battle cry? We are the various blood-fanged, red-faced buggity bull.
It's not to remember, but this killed many gangrel.
This is not good. Many gangrel, you say? There aren't many gangrel left in Dalton. One of the many things from our previous regime.
Is less now.
And these members of the Outlanders, were they local? Did they reside within the township of Thornton, under the purview of Prince Albul? Or were these poachers, visitors, tourists?
They were guests to my establishment last evening who went out for a ride and did not come back due to the attack. And I am lucky that my associate Zyna made it back to me despite being grievously wounded.
Yes, I see. And fashion reveals much. And these guests of yours, what numerical value did they cost you?
So she looks at him. It would take me a moment of time to come up with a number, but it is more the fact that these animals are hunting
No.
close to my club.
No. We don't use this word. Sometimes they have, how do you say, spiritual advisors who, we don't use this word. We don't want to make them angry. The treaty and peace will only last so long if we disparage our hirsute potential allies. Yes, there we are, potential allies.
They weren't behaving as allies when they killed the gangrel.
Perhaps not. Were the gangrels perhaps, as is often the case, and forgive me if either of you are of such lesser stock, but were the gangrels perhaps behaving inhospitably? The reason why I ask such directly, and forgive me for the lack of hospitality, but 3 weeks ago in Indianapolis there was an attack on the Towers holding there. A ravenous pack of gangrel responsible for the attack. They were last seen fleeing north out of the city. We fear that they may be head to the area, and so several security issues have been raised, including but not limiting to reaching out to our allies in Orland Park to set up a perimeter and bring down any of the problematic terrorist actors.
Was only having contests of storing arms.
So they...
What I am taking from that particular interaction is that they very much stalked and had murdered what they found. So
this is potential.
There was no discussion. There was no discussion of perhaps you would like to leave. They were given no chance. They were ambushed, attacked without provocation.
I'm sorry for your loss. We can make recompense for via investigation. For now, the approximate value you have lost will be returned to you, of course, and we will look into the matter to ensure that any kindred harmed erroneously, their coteries, their Maula and their sire will be made whole for their absence. We do not wish to engage in outright war with our allies in Orland Park. Now, if you wish, there will be a brief speech from His Majesty Prince Albu, and most of the guests will depart to Chiffon, Silk's newest private club, a speakeasy almost you would say, beneath the jewelry store that was formerly there. It is, I understand, a very beautiful place, once home to many beautiful individuals, models and the like. It is a soft opening, a declaration of the power that she would bring and those that she represents. It is, how do you say, exclusive. And he takes out a checkbook. And tears out a check of the checkbook. Then he reaches into the drawer and brings out a notepad, a legal pad, and slides it across to you with a pen. I'll give you a few moments to tabulate what you believe the value of these non-terrorist Gengro were to you. Then we'll make value. We'll perhaps haggle a small bit. After all, if not properly trained, most Gengro will bite the hands that feed them. And I shall return shortly. There is another matter I must deal with, and while you discuss amongst yourselves, know that the prince has your best interest, and the best interest of Donerton Township as a whole at heart. And he leans forward, inclining his head in a small bow. If you'll excuse me. Gets up and moves from behind the desk out the door.
Quietly at Zyna for a moment, and then I believe I have just been given the most bureaucratical brush off possible.
He does not want payment. He's kind of want to rip his head off.
Fair enough. But then we would have to find our way out of here, and I cannot wish.
Well, you did bring your running shoes tonight.
Is there any way that perhaps if we were to come up with an amount, we can make it beneficial to both the ones that were lost and yourself?
He's not know them. It's not friends. It's just Gengro. He's sure if we're dead Toreador, they would take more serious.
Probably, yes. But we can make them hurt financially, at least for now.
Does not get the impression they pay much.
Would you know how much the average night of drinking and debauchery would bring in for each person?
$176 for just drinking. Those who didn't partake of donors or any of the stored blood or vitae, $176. For those who partake of donors or any of the stored vitae, average of about $3,000, either in favors or in actual hard cash.
She is going to take that $3,000 amount, pad it out for high-end alcohol, and times that by the amount of bikers that were lost. And write that down on the notepad.
Looking at the number spelled out, there's a momentary mental whistle because at $56,000 for each of the lost bikers that could have partaken of a donor and traded you the value in services or cash or both, it is $56,000 that you, if you were truly responsible for them, would have been out of with their massacre. And while money does not make the kindred world go round, it does pad out the value of favors and trivial, major, and minor boons. Money makes those occasionally more possible than others. 56 grand is a hard number to look at over one night's loss.
Yes, maybe we had to take a favor.
Would you prefer a boon of some sort?
Would prefer was taken seriously that they do something about lupines.
Again, I wholly agree. But we are working in somebody else's sandbox at the moment.
In the moment you said you wish that they took it serious, there's something that clicks into place. They believed you were victims of the right hand of Prince Albo's violence. Her, she, Ben, and were willing to pay almost immediately. They also mentioned an alliance and potential alliance with the Lupines of Orland Park. There's something about that that doesn't seem part of the natural ebb and flow of anything you all recognize as the world in which you live. Lupines don't make deals with kindred. The only contract, the only alliance that has ever been known to be in place is the Pact of Non-Aggression between the kindred of Chicago, the capital city of the kindred in the continental United States, and the greater pact of the Midwest, the almighty heathen horde of lupines that raided the city back in the 90s. That's the only alliance, that's the only pact, it's the only contract that is known and on the books. It's an impossibility as far as normal, average, every night thought that any lupine would actively work with alongside of any kindred. Even the pact with the prime capital city is only a pact of non-aggression. Don't screw with the lupines and lupines won't screw with you. It literally buys most kindred just enough time to step on the gas and disappear. Doesn't mean Prince Jackson or formerly Prince Peterson were using the lupines as shock troopers, border patrol. Yet Albus the Juden mentioned a treaty, an alliance, and a potential alliance.
His work with them, I think, is perhaps hunting angle.
to scare them into being pets.
Or to kill them as troublemakers.
Either way, does not bode well. I don't know what we should do from this point. I mean, if we ruin the treaty, that puts everybody in the crossfire.
Is not know how ruin treaty was not in their bark, was defending self.
I don't understand how he managed to pull that off, when Chicago only got non-aggression versus whatever this is.
Is perhaps lying. Is perhaps he have something they want.
That isn't that far-fetched, actually. She motions to the Trotskys. Probably offered them something they couldn't get anywhere else. Which again is scary in and of itself. But we should not discuss this here, obviously.
No sooner have the words left your mouth than there is a knock at the door, and the Juden is back, opening it and stepping through. I hope that you've come to understanding. Things are moving fairly quickly elsewhere. So, do you have offer?
She turns the notepad so he can see it, or a minor boon.
I see. For such small value, we perhaps can do both. And he sits back down. He makes out the check for 56 grand. And he turns it towards you and hands it to you. You take this to finance office. It's near the entrance where you would receive. But for the minor boon, perhaps. And he pulls a homemade paper-esque journal out of the drawer. Right, makes this big swooping cursive quick note and letter. And he signs it himself, then takes an honest-to-goodness wax seal and stamps the corner, rolling it up before the wax has had time to cool so that it adheres and seals onto itself. This is for minor favor, and he extends it over to you. This takes care of this portion of business, no muss, no fuss, and for added value, we will extend the offer for you to join us at the unofficial private soft opening of Chiffon, Silk's newest venture here in Thornton Township. It is a great thing, though it is not actually in Thornton Township. In all honesty, it technically is in the wider purview of Thornton, but exists wholly in what is, well, you will probably be familiar. This is actually Riverdale. It is there at the corner of Ed Brook, just off of Michigan there. You know this street, yes? Where the how do you say it? The building is a landmark. It is very, very close to Indiana Avenue, and just north of Sibley there. Very, very close. You know this, yes? Sibley and Edinburgh in Riverdale?
I'm familiar, yes.
Excellent, excellent. Consider you part of the rare few denizens who have the opportunity of seeing all of the beauty and pleasure of what the actual Toreador donor center is about. It is will revitalize how the kindred in Thornton Township are fed. It will remove the fear and temptation of hunting on the streets. It will make things so much more easy for the populace. And you can take part in the first night of feeding from beautiful mortals, kind, that have been chosen and trained specifically to be of service to us. Unlike any other business, this is good, yes? No time. I will be right back with your just 2 invitations you need, or would you need another, or someone else you would like to join us?
Yes, I think Luzon would like to go.
Yes, indeed. We will need 3.
3. Oh, that's very doable. I shall return very, very shortly. Oh, and he finally notices the bottles in your hand, which you've never about to sit on the desk. Is this gift for Prince Albul?
Yes, actually. I had bought a gift this evening, thinking that I would get to speak with him, but this has been pleasant enough.
So, not a gift for Prince Albul. It's fine, I'm sure he will understand. But I must depart. I will return with your 3 invitations. Few moments. And he actually looks at his wristwatch and steps out of the room, closing the door behind himself.
This friend of yours.
The person who's throwing the body is both a friend and an enemy. Frenemy, as it were. They think themselves better than me. So, rival as well. And the fact that he rubbed quite deeply in that she was bettering Thornton Township doing the exact same thing I already do.
He's probably enjoying Mozan's company.
Yeah, move on the perfect addiction to our little excursion.
If can find.
Yes, he does tend to come and go as he please. Often. While I understand he's doing something fairly important, I don't like the fact that he's been away all evening. But again, that's neither here nor there. We will wait for him to return with his invitation.
She just nods.
As you all make an impromptu agreement. Nothing that anyone can put a finger on, nothing that is official of swearing a pact of blood. There is an understanding that it is in existence and not spoken of. And the adjutant is nearly...
We tell it the way he...
And would it be...
I was going to
Go on.
saying, with him mentioning that it's not a gift for the prince, or did something seem weird about that? Like some sort of boo-boo is made.
You are sure that the adjutant is the sort to keep accurate, spot, absolutely detailed notes on their interactions. You can feel it in your gut. You can feel it in your soul. You know for a fact they're the sort to jot down on a quiet Thursday where they don't do anything. 2,300 hours of the day. I have accomplished nothing. There were no tasks to accomplish. Therefore, in the end, all tasks as assigned to tonight, have been accomplished. 2301, status exactly as previously mentioned. Looking forward to dying for the day for sunrise. 2302. Nothing has changed, all things remain the same. We'll move position a foot to top of desk. And while the spoken word, the texted, typed, written word does not have tone, you're sure that they will detail the exact interaction for later perusal, potentially by the prince or by a member of his cabinet, or simply save for posterity. And it's 49 after the hour. We're going to take a quick 10 and be back at the turning of the hour, and then we will wrap up our episode. So give me a quick 10. See you back here shortly. Welcome back, folks. How we doing?
Hey.
Yes. And so with a small respite, we head back to the office where Dia and Zyna are dealing with the potential ramifications of accelerated diplomacy. With the adjutant having stepped out once more, leaving you all in relative solitude, is there anything else that the two kindred, the last members of the White City's township coterie, might be up to?
I feel like we have to go to this fast this evening, as what little power I still hold is being put in question. And it is not the battle we intended upon, but it is a battle nonetheless.
It's not my arena, but can come and watch back.
And that would very much be appreciated. I know it is not your particular, maybe perhaps cup of tea, but yes, having somebody to watch my back this evening would very much make me feel better.
Just put on clean t-shirt and wipe blood off boots.
Well, it's better than Frost used to do.
The mention of that brings home the unfortunate reality of the situation. And that unfortunate reality being that in the world of the kindred, it is always eat or be eaten. And even knowing that, looking at the two bottles in your hand, some truths are harder to stomach than others. Because even though there were hundreds of minor, major, and middling adventures held, hundreds of situations where trust existed, the sad truth of the thing is that death and taxes are in fact eternal. And while there may not be any physical, immediate danger to heading into the soft opening of chiffon, there is a very real understanding that once you cross that threshold, if you cross that threshold, that you will be playing for keeps. Everything that you've survived will be on the line. All of the moments before, all of the instances that have led to this moment, led to now, are on the table. Much like Urzuli's attempting to forestall, to put off, to maintain or obtain some power from the ascension of Voivod Albu to Prince Albu. This is very much that same situation. Stealing a bit of memory, largesse, and power, while attempting to make the appearance of not doing just that. And as that reality comes into crystal clear focus, the adjutant is back with 3 filigreed invitations, and you notice that they are for the soft opening, not the hard opening in a week from now that you received at the Biscuiteers.
She doesn't say any of that. She just kind of smiles and takes the invitation and looking to the adjutant. I don't think you quite understood earlier, just to be sure. But yes, one of these bottles was indeed for the prince. If you would take it to him, please.
He pauses, frowns as if he doesn't understand the English that you're saying. Oh, so it is gift.
Yes, gift.
Very well. And he extends his hand, asking which.
She hands him the slightly larger bottle of the two.
He pauses, looking at the bottle, looking towards you. Holding it in his hand, there's some impossible bit of recognition. Interesting. Do you often visit Chicago?
No, I haven't been to Chicago in a while, actually.
This is the very sort of vintage that prohibited view from continued existence. The absence of the ability to obtain more of this sort of vintage. I do hope that you have access to more. The prince, at that time the Voivode, is still very much a man of his word, and he holds all associates, friends, and citizens to the same standard of keeping your word, no matter what. Their inability to obtain more after offering such a thing as a potential out and freedom from the circulatory system is the reason for you no longer being amongst us. I am sure that they will cherish this gift.
Yes, ma'am. That is the difference between Vu and I. I am making no such promises or no such compunction. It is simply a gift.
Very well. It is a good gift. Do you need circumvents to the opening, or would you prefer to arrive at your own leisure?
I much prefer to arrive at my own leisure. Thank you.
But of course, hospitality is very important to us. Thank you for being an upstanding guest. I wish you all of the luck that you might maintain.
That is quite the interesting bon mot. Thank you. And this time when he goes to leave, she is right behind him. She is not letting him shut them in this office again.
As you all leave the office, she meets him in the hallway. And it's hard not feeling as if you're looking on something that you shouldn't see, because instead of the usual head nod or handshake or a greeting or salutation of any sort, she literally walks directly towards him and just places a pile of toy cars into his hand, looking at you all as if you're something that she scraped off of her boot before moving further into the building. He pockets the vehicles and notices that you're standing there. Oh, you're ready to depart. Well, then right this way. I will have someone escort you to your car.
And yes, we will have to stop at the financial office before we leave entirely.
Oh, yes, the check. It is, of course, I should have perhaps maybe post-dated it.
She just smiles in response. Inside her head, though, he is getting cussed in all the languages she knows.
Zyna just glares through him.
With all the finery that is normally on display at the various places that you've seen of the Prince's Haven, the financial office shatters that reality. It turns it on its head. It is exactly as depressing as it sounds. For those of us who've had to use financial aid for college, it is exactly like standing at the bursar's window with several hundred of your closest, dearest fellow students as they dole out the stipends from that semester or trimester's received financial aid. You watch as the guests in front of you leave looking as if they've been spat upon, pocketing various documents and monies that don't quite seem to add up to what they were expecting. And then you see who the bursar is, and it is, in fact, more of an insult than you had bothered to notice, because the bursar is none other than Senator Stewart Naomi of Chicago, who is one of the few kindred who have owned or operated a dual citizenship prior to now. They were a senator of standing within the regime of Geneva, and they are now somehow in the staff of the new prince of Thornton Township.
Good evening.
Oh my God, it is such a good thing to see you, Senator Wang. I'm happy about your promotion to citizen.
Yes, I think we are all happy that things are being run so well.
Yes, especially being as you still have not utilized the, well, fullness of your former position as senator. I assumed that it was simply because it wasn't challenging enough.
Plenty challenging. But, you look well.
Yes, it's not easy running an empire that actually cares and caters to those who can't care or cater to themselves. I recently expanded my portfolio after several losses, and it seems to have worked out. Are you here for a loan?
No. I am exchanging this check for things lost.
Oh. I completely understand. Silk is a brilliant businesswoman, and her model of ensuring that she recoups all losses over time with several points of interest. Not quite sure how she managed it or how she manages it for such consistent periods, but it is in fact quite amazing.
The eye twitch happens again, but instead she keeps smiling and slides the check to the window.
Oh, this isn't one of her normal checks. This looks like one of Prince Albu's checks. Very well. For this large of a value, we'll need to arrange a pickup. I can have this ready for you in 3 hours. Would you like this delivered somewhere, or would you like to come back?
Maybe give it to the matron at the biscuiteers.
Oh, okay. Oh, you're still running that place? I thought sure you would have sold it, especially with Silk moving her operations from Gary.
No, I have no plans or inclinations to close the biscuiteers or sell it.
Good for you. That's so stunning. It's a very brave decision. So yes, 3 hours. To get a courier there will take about 15-20 minutes. Hopefully, when everything clears, and we can have that to you in roughly 3.25 hours. Will there be someone that can sign for receipt, or will you be there?
The matron of the house can sign for the receipt.
Excellent, excellent. I do wish we had the opportunities to actually work together before everything moved the way that it did. It's impossible that we could have known then that Thornton would be, well, such an upstanding place. Decibel is working magic and ensuring that we all are safe here in Thornton. That is no longer such a lawless or godless place. And this is, just between the three of us. I did enjoy the wildness that was Thornton, but I was hoping that we'd eventually move to a less unstable leadership and move to a place where every kindred could live up to their full potential.
Indeed. Well, lovely speaking with you, but I have to get ready for a party. And then she walks away quickly, trying to push down the rage scream that is bubbling in her throat.
As you all leave the financial office there at Prince Albu's haven, it is a sign that he is stronger than anyone else's attempts or ideas as to who and what he is. That he is the true master of the realm of Thornton Township and its new place as the second city to Chicago as far as the kindred are concerned. There is a resounding feeling that there's more afoot than could have possibly ever been known. Kabalarshi bought you all time, his presence keeping the larger maneuvers of Albu in check. Without that check and without that balance, Prince Albu is free to reach for every brass ring of his imagining, including but not limited to collaring and controlling known lupines. It's an impossibility, yet somehow he is pulling it off. And as you all drive away, invitations in hand, is there any other conversation, discussions, or decisions that you are making?
Went to the store.
The first thing that would happen as soon as they begin driving away is she lets that rageful scream out, gripping the steering wheel and shaking in fury and frustration. And after a good 2 minutes, takes a breath.
Not to go well.
Thing is, we Toreador do not have claws and teeth as Gangrel might, but it is no less fraught
Went to the store.
when doing battle. And effectively, I was just assaulted fairly deeply without even my main enemy being present. She had others doing her work for her and insulting me and assuming that I would have so easily given up when she moved into town. Ego being what it is all some Toreador have to their name. And if you let another beat you on loose face, it can be almost worse than true undeath and harder to recover from. So I need to find a way to present a strong front this evening and make people very, very much aware that I am not to be counted out. I don't quite know how to do that, but I am not going to go down without a fight. as it were.
You stop talking when you rip out throat.
Yes. That is very true. You can no longer speak if you have no throat to speak. But the thing is, I have to politically rip her throat out, not physically rip her throat. Because openly attacking her while the prince is there would get me nothing but death.
He's not no politics.
Unfortunately, I will have to know enough politics for the both of us, or the three of us if we can manage to get Muzan to come. But he would definitely help me distract and give me a little bit of an advantage, I think.
His figure he would assault delicate sensibilities.
Yes, and I love him for that. Possibly wonderful at just being himself. And I appreciate it. But there is the other matter of I don't know how he did it. Again, I will say I don't know how he did it. How he got the wolves to agree to any sort of peace. With the things as they can be.
As one man says, so does not make it so.
But that one seems kind of like the sort who wouldn't
So I'm up here enjoying the
have the imagination to make things up as such. It's very factual, it seems. So if he is under the assumption that there has been a treaty or potential treaty created, I don't take it for gossip either. It could perhaps be something the Dupines are letting Albu think to hide their true nature or their true machinations, but they are still letting him think that there is peace and that they are sticking to their area as given.
To establish peace is to prepare for war.
I hadn't thought of it that way, but Albu is very much good at war. So perhaps they are both preparing for war under the guise of peace. But where does that leave the common man?
Worth $50,000.
Indeed.
Not that.
Especially since you said it was.
Not that Dia is one to look a gift horse in the mouth. And yet, there wasn't any haggling as promised. As if your price was just about low enough where it wouldn't make a difference. And not only did they not haggle, they added a trivial favor on record.
I feel vaguely like I've been taking advantage. Or the wool has been pulled. making me into a sheep, staked out for the wolves.
Is not no.
Well, he joked after the fact, saying he should have postdated the check. But at the same time, he did not haggle over the amount. And even added a boon. Part of me feels like I might not survive long enough to see that boon repaid.
With lupines.
They were uninviting us to this party.
With lupines hunting us, none of us may live to see boons repaid.
Yeah. Well,
And with that thought hanging over everyone's head, that there are somewhere out there in the dark a pack of lupines who are sniffing, snarling, and stealthing their way right very close to deliver the final decapitating attack to any and every kindred, we draw to a close with Zyna and Dia sitting behind the wheel of the car, moving through the quiet streets of Dalton Township, heading back to the Pisketeers. There are dangers, both physical, mental, and social, in the offing, gathering like, well, barbarians at the gate of their Roman paradise. What happens next is solely in their hands and solely on their minds and hearts. Where that might lead, we have no idea. There are several hundred moving parts, and each of them intrinsic to someone else's plan. So as we depart, I'd like to say thank you. It's been a great episode. Hopefully enlightening as to some of the things in the offing, some of the potential things wished and wanted for by the other denizens of Dalton and Thornton Township, and hopefully in outlining what is necessary for the coterie together and individually to achieve. Good night, everybody.
Night, guys.